Don't coach your clients, create pathways. The big issue if we really focus in on just coaching with our clients is that, and if you don't solve this and get this right, is they end up creating a business that requires for you to be coaching the entire day. It requires for you to not have the sort of freedom that you wanted when you signed up for this whole online business thing. And it puts your clients in a situation where they become dependent on you. And when that happens, the whole entire program, their whole entire investment is riding on your responses to them, getting the answers right to your questions, and like you having all of the answers. And that's not what coaching is. The answer is inside of your students. So what do we do and what does business look like when we get this right? Well, first, stay through to the end because we're gonna be covering 3 different things, 3 strategies that you're gonna start doing inside of your coaching calls and as you operate your coaching or your online course business. And when you get this right, you have a business that gives you a bit more free time, that allows for you to get paid to build, and that allows for you to just really enjoy your business and not wake up every day feeling like you're going back to the 9 to 5, because that's why we did this, right? This is why we got into an online business. This is why we became online coaches. And so if this feels like work and this feels like your 9 to 5, then there's a few easier paths in doing what we would do here as coaches. And you might get paid more for less work, or at least be less stressed at the end of the day. So let's talk about what we do in order to get away from kind of like the old way of thinking of like, if we're a coach, then we're gonna be showing up every single day for an hour with our clients and giving them one-on-one help, answering their specific questions, and then we do it again the next week. And that's the big issue. And the first thing we have to do to really start getting out of that is we have to make sure that we're actually identifying the real problem. And what this really means is, number one, to be simple, it's like kind of like working with a little kid. You got to ask why a couple times so that their own mind can get to the logic of it. And when you think about it as coaches, if you're charging right, if you're following what I tell you to do, then you're going to be charging enough to where when a client signs up with you, they are going to be anxious to get their investment back and to make sure that they actually invested in the right place. So there's kind of a lot riding on it. And if we get our students dependent on us for the answers, they're never going to become self-sufficient. And we end up really just doing them a massive disservice instead of helping them get to the next level. So the first thing we need to do as coaches is make sure that we're identifying the actual number one problem. In personal freedom mentoring, in my full-time gig, we often talk a lot about the idea of like putting the spinach in the smoothie. You don't really know when it's in there. This is kind of like the idea, and there's always the chance this could be seen as like snaky or something like that, of putting the spinach in the smoothie, which is giving them what they need, selling them what they want, or vice versa, selling them what they want and giving them what they need. And it's important that we do this as coaches if we really want to help our people to solve the actual problem that they have. Because if you show up every day and just answer your clients' questions and don't help them get to where they're wanting to be, eventually they're going to show up after a couple calls, the excitement's going to die down, and they're going to feel like you're a fraud and like you didn't have the actual goods, you didn't have the actual bag of tricks to help them. And so the first thing we have to do is always make sure at the beginning of each coaching call and in our sales and our strategy sessions that we're actually working through getting the actual problem we're going to solve. I teach a 2-step system for sales calls. Most people do like a 1-call close. You get them on the phone and you close them right then and there. We do 2 steps in personal freedom mentoring for a lot of different reasons. But the main reason is if you make it through the first call, which is about the coach, which like would be about me. This is about if you're a fit for me. If you make it through the first call onto the longer strategy session, the whole point of that entire call is to make sure that we find and are identifying the actual problem that we're going to solve. Seldomly will a student apply for your program and actually know the problem that they're trying to hire you to solve. Typically, they're going to hire you to really solve something really deep and emotional. And what you're going to do on top of solving that deep emotional problem through your action steps, you're going to lead them to where they need to be and take their eyes off of the emotion and on to the action. So the first thing we have to do is look for the main problem. The way we do that is by kind of constantly asking why and maybe having a flow for every session we show up with our students and with our clients that guides us in the conversation to make sure that the call is actually helpful and they leave better and less frustrated and more clear than when they signed on. So that's strategy number 1. We don't want to coach. We need to create pathways. Strategy number 2, this is more for you as a coach and this is less about the students. What I want for you to do is be writing down in your sessions, especially when you're just starting out, because we think coaching and we think from here on out we're going to be showing up with our students one-on-one. That is not the way we coach. That's a very quick way to give yourself a 9 to 5 and to hate coaching and to hate helping people to get results. What I want for you to start doing is write down in every session, what you actually covered with the student. What we need to do is start creating some intellectual property. We need a Google spreadsheet or a notebook filled with the stories you tell and with the different strategies that you coach your people with so that you stand out from all of the other people in your industry. This is how we become different. Every niche that there is out there is more full and only getting more full. And so we need to do things within our control and within our power to make ourselves stand out. And the way we do that, the way I teach it, is through your intellectual property. So what that means is writing down in your sessions what you're teaching and then creating a curriculum around it, is end up creating a training. The way I've done this over the last 12 months is I do a group training every week. And so the biggest questions that I have, I go and put together a little presentation once a week, and then I answer those. And then whenever a student signs up, I'm never gonna teach that again. And the coaching becomes more of accountability and a check-in versus one-on-one hand-holding and help. And that's a huge benefit for your students because they can kind of self-serve. And so the big idea that I want for you to stick here is coach once. Coach once and then film. Now, you may have to coach it a couple times to come up with what your intellectual property is. What are the stories that you tell? What are the things that you share when you're doing this with your people? That's okay. So coach it a couple times and then film it and never coach it again. That's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3 when it comes to creating pathways instead of coaching is we need to create even more ways, building off of point number 2, for your clients to be self-serving. Meaning that when they sign up, there is a pathway for them to go through that allows for them to start getting the big result that you're promising them. And I think that the best coaches are the ones who, when their client signs up, the client is immediately experiencing the result that they're paying for. And every notion of them, of the risk that's involved, of if you're the right coach or mentor for them, or if they're in the right program, completely dissipates because they feel like, and because they've already gotten the result that they're wanting. Now, you might ask, well, okay, then Jeremy, well, how do I coach them for the next 90 days or for the next year? And that's what I teach over in Personal Freedom Mentoring. So we need to get away from coaching, my friends, and we need to start creating pathways and sharing our vision with the people. And our vision for our people needs to be far more grand than the vision that the people have for themselves. And my prediction is that when you embody this, is that your people, even though right now you may not have a whole roster full of clients, hell, you might not even know where your next client is or even have a client right now. But my belief is that when you start creating pathways and creating a vision that's far more grand for your people than they have for themselves, is that your people, like Stuart Wilde said, one of my favorite mentors of the past, they're gonna start showing up. And they will come through the craziest of places. They'll come through referrals, they'll rappel down from the ceiling, they'll come from underneath and over the bleachers, they'll come from every direction. And when you do this, you're gonna have a business that's popping. You're gonna have a business that you're super proud of and that people are attracted to, and because they feel like there's gonna be an increase of their life force because of what they see from you and your vibe and from your other students. We need to start creating pathways and get out of the old notion of coaching so that we can actually attain the sort of freedom that we're wanting. If this is your first time watching this and I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, my name is Jeremy Montoya and I run a business called Personal Freedom Mentoring where we help business coaches get to and beyond the $10,000 a month in automatically recurring revenue, and so that you don't have to wake up every single month worried about your next product launch, where your next client is coming from. You wake up with a bank account full and a roster of clients that are full and a lot of people applying for your program. So if you're an existing business coach and you want to know what it's going to take to get yourself to that point, then leave a comment with the word private wherever you're watching this video, and I'll reach out to you via DM. We'll have a quick chat. If you are not a business coach or you haven't made your first $1,000 yet, then I definitely have something for you as well. In fact, before the end of August, we're gonna be launching another case study group. And so I'm looking for 5 aspiring online entrepreneurs or existing coaches who just haven't gotten to that first $10,000 mark with their online business. Maybe you're doing side gigs and in-person stuff and the money's coming in that way, but you're just ready for it to be online and to actually have that online business that you envisioned when you signed up for all of this. I wanna help you to and through those milestones and surround you with a bunch of people who are doing that same stuff. If that's you, there are some shortcuts, so to say. They're projects you install in your business. So leave a comment with the word shortcut and we can have a chat and I can send you the details for what that is and see if it's a fit for you before we raise the price next month in September. Thanks so much for watching. Don't coach, create pathways. That's your ticket to freedom, and it's also the ticket to freedom for your clients. Thanks so much. See you guys in the next one.